Hello and welcome to the next section on intermediate Swift. In this section, we're going to be talking about three things: arrays, loops, and functions. Now, all of these are important. I want you to add them to your Swift tool belt, but most important, I think, is arrays, maybe after that functions. I kind of put loops in there as sort of a nice little fun mix in between the two. That's going to reinforce the stuff you learn with arrays. But three awesome topics that you're going to learn here, and then we're going to apply these inside of our emoji dictionary app. So first thing that we're talking about is arrays. Inside of here, just going to talk about all the basics: how to create, edit, manipulate, work with arrays. Let's go ahead and dive in right now. All right, so these are a few Swift concepts that I really want to make sure you have under your belt. We're going to learn some really big ones for table views, particularly arrays, but we're also going to be learning some other stuff that's just going to help you become a better Swift and iOS developer. So to go ahead and get started with this, let's open up Xcode. And let's just start a new playground so we can mess around and learn some new things. So we're going to choose iOS blank here for our option. And we can just go ahead and throw that on the desktop, no problem. And let me go ahead and make this full screen so we can see all of this. So the first topic that we're going to be talking about is arrays. And like I said, arrays are very important to table views. The two work hand in hand together. They're just BFFs. They're going to be great. So what are arrays? I think the better way to think about arrays is think of them as lists, because what an array is and what a list is, it's an ordered list of items. It's, things in a particular order. So for example, if you're going to list out your favorite candy bars or the results for a race, who got first place, who got second place, what's your favorite movie, what's your second favorite movie, whatever it is, like it's a list of things that are in a particular order. That's what makes an array. So I think by going through an example and sort of working through some things that you'll come to understand it more. So let's just go ahead and make our very first array. So let's make an array that's going to hold our favorite candy bars. Now yours might be a little bit different than mine, but let's go ahead and make a variable that I'm going to call fav candy. Make sure you've got no spaces there. You can call yours whatever you want. That's just what I'm calling mine. And so new variable called fav candy. Nothing should be new here, right? We've made lots of different variables before, but now we're making an array. So to make an array, you do square brackets left and right, and then inside of those square brackets, this is where you're going to be listing the items in the array. So for example, for me, my number one candy definitely got to be Snickers. Maybe it's because it has the name Nick inside of it. I'm not really sure. I just think they taste delicious, but Snickers are my number one favorite. So I put those in there. You can see I put the quotes around it because I want it to be a string. Then to put another item in your array, you do comma, and then more double quotes. So what's my second favorite candy? Probably Fun Dip. I'd say that's my favorite, especially the one that changes color once you lick it. I think that stuff's pretty cool. Okay. And then we'll go ahead. What's my third favorite? Hershey's, maybe a Hershey's bar. Like that's my third favorite candy. And this is our very first array. And what is it? It's an array that has three items inside of it, and it has a very particular order. Snickers first, Fun Dip second, and Hershey's third. That's very important to know that this order is never going to be changed unless we actually modify it, okay? So you might be wondering, okay, what is it that you're supposed to do with this, array once you've created it? Well, there's a couple of things that you can do. So the first and probably the most important one is you can pull information out of this array. So for example, with fav candy, let's say I wanted to get the very first item in here. Well, I can do fav candy dot, and if I type first, it's going to give me back the very first item in that array, which in this case is Snickers. If I want to get the very last one, you can probably guess what the answer is here. You just do favcandy.last, right? And this is going to get me the Hershey's bar. So that's how you can quickly get the first one and the last one. But, what if I wanted to get the middle one? What if I wanted to get Fun Dip? Well, you might think, is there a middle option? No, there's not a middle option. There's a first and there's a last, but there's no middle. But what we can do is we can reference any specific item in the array, and that's by typing out the name of the array, doing square brackets, and then specifying an index for what particular item that we want. So first thing before we dive into this is to know that arrays use zero-based counting, meaning when they start counting, they don't go, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They start 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and forward through there. So for example, with this array, this is item 0, Snickers is item 0, this is Fun Dip is item 1, and Hershey's is item 2. So it counts 0, 1, 2, rather than counting 1, 2, 3. Okay, so just remember, arrays are zero-based counting. So for example, with this fave candy, if I want to get the fun dip, which is, as we would normally say, the second item in the array, I have to pass it the index of 1 because we go count 0, 1. This is the 1. So if we go ahead and type a 1 inside of here, you can see, dun, da, 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 there comes fun dip. So what if we wanted to ask for the, this first item? Well, we would pass in a 0, right? Because 0, 1, 2, and all of a sudden Snicker comes through. So I got a question for you. I actually want you to pause the video and actually do this little quick exercise. What number would we put in here to get to the Hershey's bar, okay? Go ahead, hit pause, go try and figure out the solution, and then come back and replay it. Hit pause now. Okay, so if you wanted to get the Hershey's bar, let's count 0, 1, 2. We would provide the number 2 inside of there. Okay, does that make sense how we're getting to this? Arrays, zero-based counting, 0, 1, 2, that's how we got there, okay? So this is how we can pull information from an array. We can also edit information in an array this way. So if I do fave candy provided an index of 2, which gives me the Hershey's, I can actually change what's inside of there. If I say, you know what, Hershey's really isn't my third favorite. I think it's actually the 100 grand bar. I can just go ahead and do this. And now if I type out the name of our array so we can just see what's inside of there, you can see it's now Snickers, Fun Dip, and then 100 grand bar. So we, switched out the Hershey's for that. So that's how you can edit, the existing items that are in there. Now you can also add things onto an array if you'd like to. And the way to do that is you say the name of your array, in this case fave candy, dot append, and then you pass in something new. So let's say I want to pass on yet another one. I want to do some Smarties, okay? What this will do is it will just add another string onto the end of this array. So if I type out fave candy, you should see here, Xcode's taking its sweet time to show up here. But there you can see we've added Smarties onto the end of it. So now there's 4 items inside of the array. So that's how you can append stuff. You can also, rather than append, you could insert at a particular point. So if we do fave candy dot insert, you first have to specify what it is that you want to put in there. So in our case, if I want to add Smarties, I'll type that. And then it asks for at what position you want to add it. So if I want to add Smarties at the very beginning of the array, I can put 0 inside of there. And what that does is you can see it puts Smarties in front of Snickers, Fun Dip, 100 grand, all that good stuff. If I want to put it in between like Fun Dip and Hershey's, I can go ahead and put a number 2 there. And then you can see, well, Hershey's got changed to 100 grand bar, but do you see how it, moved into this particular spot? So append just automatically puts something on the end, and insert, you can put it at a exact location. Another thing that you can do with arrays is you can figure out how many things are inside of there. So you can do fave candy dot count, and this will tell you how many items you have in there. So for example, if we do the fave candy dot count at this point, it's only going to be 3, right? Because we have the 3 items in there. If we go back to when we had inserted something and we do fave candy dot count, this should now show us that there's 4 items inside of there. If Xcode decides to update, there we go. So yeah, you can see how many things are there. And then lastly, you can go ahead and actually delete things from an array. So let's say, for example, after we've inserted Smarties, it's like, you know what, Fun Dip, maybe I'm not feeling that as much. I just want to completely get rid of it. Well, you can do fave candy dot, we want remove at, and you specify which index the thing is at. So Fun Dip, for example, is at the 0, 1 position. So we'll put a 1 inside of there. Okay, and if I type out fave candy, you'll see we went from these 4 right here to these 3, and we got rid of the Fun Dip. And if, we wanted to get rid of the 100 grand bar, we would pass in the 3, and that gets rid of the 100 grand bar. Okay, so with arrays now, basically everything. You know how to make a new one, you know how to add things to it, you know how to pull things out, you know how to update, you know how to insert, remove, basically the whole shebang here. Something else that I want to specify here is that with arrays, they all have to be of the same type. So remember how strings are a type, ints are a type. We had talked a little bit about doubles, how those are a type. So these all have to be strings. We can't go ahead and say, you know what, I want to also add the number 4 inside of my array. Xcode's going to get mad at us and give us an error. It has to all be the same. Now, they have to all be the same. They don't have to be strings. For example, I could make a variable called lucky numbers. There we go. And I can set this equal to an array of just some random ints like this. This is totally valid code. It's just that if you're going to have an array of ints, they have to all be ints. If you have to have an array of strings, they have to all be strings. Like I couldn't come on here and just say like, hello is one of my extra things. No, it's saying, hey, this is all going to be an array of ints, or it's got to be strings, or it's got to be doubles, booleans, whatever it is that you want it to be, okay? So we know now that these have to all be the same. The last thing that I just want to show you is how to specify the type of an array. So for example, right, remember when we explicitly had stated, I have a series of courses here on Pack, and the first one we covered all this stuff, the very beginnings of iOS. So if you're interested in checking that out, that's making your first iPhone app. But so if we want to specify the type of this one, you just do the colon, and then you have your square brackets and say what type is going to be inside. So in this case, it would be a string. With this one, we do the colon, and then we do capital int inside of here. And this is saying, hey, this is going to be an array of strings, and hey, this is going to be an array of int objects, okay? So let me know if you have any questions about this. Again, I think arrays are the most important concept that you're going to learn here. Maybe functions are up there as well as far as importance, but really want to make sure you have this thing hammered down. So we're going to go ahead and move forward, and we'll come back to arrays because we're going to be using it with our emoji dictionary app. And we're also going to have some practice in this next video because we're actually going to be talking about loops which work with arrays. But anyways, hopefully you enjoyed learning about arrays. We still got more to learn. Let's move forward.